Ecclesiastes chapter 8. Ecclesiastes chapter 8. When I was a young man, I was talking with this older preacher, and I don't know how the subject came up about Ecclesiastes, and did he ever preach from it? He said, no, I don't preach from that book. It's written by an old man who was angry and bitter, and I just don't find any good in there. And I had studied it and read it several times, and I didn't see it that way. And the older I get, the more I don't see it that way, because I believe this is a realist. Amen. He is telling what he sees in the world. And we got riots, we got shootings, we got protests, we got more civil unrest. And I believe this is a perfect message for the time that we're living in, because it asks some questions. And look with me there in Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 9. Start there with me. Now I'm going to read it out of the New King James Version, and I'm going to read it out of the New Living Translation to help us understand it just a little bit better. And then I'm going to add my 2 cents what I'm filling out of what I've read. Now all these I have seen, applied my heart to every work that is done under the sun. There is a time in which one man rules over another to his own hurt. The New Living Translation says, I have thought deeply about all that goes on here under the sun, where people have the power to hurt each other. He said, I've invested time in thinking what goes on in this world. And I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm trying to make sense of what's happening in the world around us. Why do people hurt other people? He's basically saying, I don't understand it. It don't make any sense to me. We live in a day and a time now where things don't make sense. There are certain crimes that happen in this world that, when you think about it, you think that didn't pan out how they thought it was going to pan out. When a wife or a husband murders the person that they're supposed to love, instead of getting a divorce, they kill them. Maybe it's for money, maybe it's for assets, whatever it may be, but they hardly ever get away with it. They don't end up with that money. If they do, they don't get to spend very much of it. Or it don't make any sense why, and this is what's horrible, is one parent killing all the kids because they don't want the other parent to have the kids. It just doesn't make sense. It's horrible that individuals can do that to one another. Look at verse 10. Then I saw the wicked buried, who had come and gone from the place of holiness, and they were forgotten in the city where they had so done. This is also vanity. New Living Translation says, I've seen wicked people buried with honor, yet they were the very ones who frequently betempled and were praised in the same city where they committed the crimes. This too is meaningless. He's basically saying, I've seen people who have committed crimes, and just because they acted holy, they've gotten away with it. And people's praised them. People's honored them. People's treated them with respect and honor. He said, this doesn't make sense. Look at verse 11. Because the sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. The New Living Translation says, when crime is not punished quickly, people feel it's safe to do wrong. People can commit crimes and sometimes don't even get caught. They can even get charged with a crime and not convicted. We've seen people who've committed horrible crimes, and it seems like they get a slap on the wrist. And the sad part is, the people who commit crimes get more press, get more coverage than those ones that were the victims.
Okay.
It just doesn't make sense. Verse 12. Though a sinner does evil 100 times and his days are prolonged, yet I surely know that it will be with those who fear God, who fear before him. New Living Translation says, but even if the person sins 100 times and still lives a long time, I know that those who fear God will be better off. Here's the deal. People may do some horrible things and get away with it on this earth. They may never pay for their crimes on this earth. But the fact is, we'll all have to stand before God to give an account for our life. You're not getting away with nothing. You're not getting away with nothing. Look at verse 13. But it will not be well with the wicked, nor will he prolong his days, which are a shadow, because he does not fear before God. New Living Translation says, the wicked will not prosper, for they do not fear God. Their days will never grow old like the evening shadows. A person who is wicked may not live long. They will self-destruct. They will be self-destructive to themselves, either by harmful ways, harmful lifestyles, or they'll harm others, get caught, and be put to death, or in prisons for the rest of their life. Life doesn't make sense. Look at verse 14. It says, there is vanity which occurs on earth, that there are just men to whom it happens according to the work of the wicked. Again, there are wicked men to whom it happens according to the work of the righteous. I say that this is also vanity. New Living Translation says, and this is not all the meaningless in our world. In this life, good people are often treated as though they were wicked, and wicked people are often treated as though they were good. This also is meaningless. Well, we see that a lot, don't we?
Amen.
We see people who are good, who try to obey the law, and sometimes they are scorned. They are mocked. You see people who are living lawless, and they're doing whatever they want to do to whoever they want to do it to, and sometimes they are accepted by society. Look at verse 15. So I commanded enjoyment, because a man has nothing better under the sun than to eat, drink, and be merry. For this will remain with him in the labor of all his days, his life, which God gives him under the sun. New Living Translation says, I recommend having fun, because there is nothing better for people in this world than to eat, drink, and enjoy life. The way we experience some happiness along the way, all the hard work God gives them under the sun. It's some good advice, so. He said, life is hard. Life is tough. Things don't make sense. He's encouraging us to make sure that we enjoy every moment. Whether it's sitting on our back porch, looking out on the horizon, whether it's going to the beach, whether it's going somewhere we like to enjoy, going to a restaurant, having a nice meal. He says, I want you to enjoy life because the things don't make sense. And if God's blessed you with the ability to go out and enjoy life, then partake of it. In verse 16, when I applied my heart to know wisdom and to see the business that's done on earth, even though one sees no sleep day or night. In my search for wisdom, my observance of people's burdens here on earth, I discovered there is ceaseless activity day and night. What he is saying is, he's saying there is something happening all the time. Even when we can lay down and sleep, there are other people that are hurting in this world. So activity and evilness and wickedness sometimes goes on and on and on. So people hurting other people. It doesn't stop. I got to tell you, I don't know how people get through it without God. I don't know how people get through some of the struggles that have come upon them without having the Lord to depend on, having the Lord to turn to. Look at verse 17. Then I saw the work of God, and that man cannot find out the labor, or out of the work that is done under the sun. For though a man labors to discover it, yet he will not find it. Moreover, though a wise man attempts to know it, he will not be able to find it. New Living Translation says, I realize that no one can discover everything God is doing under the sun. Not even the wisest person can discover everything, no matter what they claim. We can't understand everything God's doing. That's why things don't make sense. Sometimes we see things happening and we're wondering, God, why? Where are you? What is happening in this situation? When bad things happen to good people and it just doesn't make sense, it makes our heart cry out to God. But in Isaiah 55, 8 and 9, he says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor your ways my ways, says the Lord. For as the heaven are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts your thoughts. Now this is kind of a bummer message because it's just helping you realize that, man, the world is out of control. And there's things happening that we can't control, and there's things happening that are horrible, and we see people who we love and care about getting hurt, and maybe we got hurt ourselves. But I want to encourage you with this little story that I heard from this Christian artist. He said him and his daughter went to a camp, a Christian camp one time. And he said they were going to do this exercise, and they took them out in the woods, all these fathers and daughters, and they blindfolded the daughters, and they told the dads, said, hey, you're going to guide your daughter. You're going to get her through these woods, and you can put your hand on her shoulder and talk to her, but there's 3 things that you need to make sure she understands. And before this walk starts, you need to say them over and over to her so she'll remember them, so she'll know how to handle this walk through the woods. One is that you'll never leave her. One is that she can ask you anything during this walk. And the third thing is she should listen only to your voice. So they're doing pretty good. He said they're walking through the woods and they're getting through all the trees around them and everything. They're doing really good. And then one of the structures come over and leans over to the dads, each one, and says, take your hand off of her shoulder. The girls could hear that. So now they know they have to just listen to their dad's voice. And now they're going, and the instructor says, okay, dads, so now they're not talking anymore. But the daughter has to remember the three things that was told to her. That he's never going to leave her. That she can ask him anything. And so, all of a sudden now, an instructor tells her, okay, we're kind of falling behind, and to catch up, you follow me. And so she begins to follow him, with her dad falling behind. Well, the instructor takes her into this ditch. And in front of her is this big tree. And he tells her to stop. And she feels there's something there. But she don't know where she's at. She don't know that she's in a ditch. She puts her hand down and she feels this object in front of her. And then she begins to remember what her instructions were. Dad, are you there? Tears running down his cheeks. He says, yes, baby, I'm around here. He couldn't speak to her, but she could speak to him, and he could answer her what she spoke to him. And he was able to guide her out of that ditch and get her on the right path again. But she had made a mistake by listening to the instructor instead of the father. And he said, that made an impact on my life. I've thought about that. Those three things are important in our Christian walk. That God will never leave us. That we can ask him anything. And not to listen to any other voice but his. Maybe the world doesn't make sense to you. Maybe sometimes it's depressing, and sometimes you feel overwhelmed by the world around you. I want you to understand, he will never leave you. You can ask him anything. And just don't listen to the voices around you. Only pay attention to his voice. Let's have a Song of Invitation, page 285, please.